The Utah Jazz find themselves struggling at this point in the season, and the trade rumors have already started to hit the rumor mill at an extremely high rate and with the ferocity that we've always seen from times in the past. Now, there are some returning faces, obviously Jordan Clarkson and John Collins, but the person that stands out the most is Collin Sexton. And today we're going to talk about that one. So if you're new to the channel, go ahead and smash that like button, subscribe, and turn on post notifications. It's your boy Wraith Hoops. Let's go ahead and get into this one. So as we know, Jordan Clarkson has been one of the players on the Utah Jazz roster that has been probably the most preferred to get traded just because he is the oldest veteran. Yes, he is an embodiment of the culture that the Utah Jazz had at one point, and he is the longest tenured player on the roster at this current moment, going back to the Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert days. But at the same time, the efficiency just isn't there, and long term, the sixth man of the year that he once was, he no longer is. Now, they were hoping that by playing him a substantial chunk of minutes this season, he would be able to show that he is capable of being a shooter that can fill it up with really good tenacity from a scoring department, and what he lacks in defense, he makes up for even potentially in playmaking, but more so in his overall ability to get a bucket and have a knack for getting the tough ones more than anything. But this season has been anything but that, as he continues to shoot career lows in both the field goal department as well as three-point percentage. And his turnovers have gotten a little bit better, but not enough to make a team gamble on him. Now, the reason why him being able to shoot better was so important was because his contract is only roughly $14 million for this year, and it would be one of the more manageable roster spots to take up from a sixth-man, seventh-man off the bench standpoint. When you look at John Collins, though, he's having a superb season, shooting out of his mind right now. But at the same time, as he does that, he plays solid defensively and he rebounds at an extremely high rate. That's not enough to justify the $25+ million price tag that's getting slapped on his head right now. And the fact of the matter is, yes, he does provide a lot of upside, but not a lot of teams are going to take a risk on that, considering the fact they're going to be playing $20+ million for a guy, have to give up assets in the process, and potentially the defense that he is playing pretty solid at now takes a while to take to their system, and he just doesn't end up being as proficient as they would love for him to be. But that leads us to Collin Sexton, who is the most lucrative of all the pieces because he just has the most upside and the least amount of downside. Now, I myself, obviously detailing by the jersey behind me, am a Collin Sexton fan, and he always shows me something that the Utah Jazz are meant to be. And it's a level of tenacity and grit that he carries with himself and a chip on his shoulder night in and night out. But at the same time, the rest of the team just isn't quite there yet. And while he's still young at 25, he hasn't been given the keys to the point guard spot like I originally felt like he should have, to show what he really can do as a tandem alongside Larry Market on the court. Yes, I understand that they're tanking and they want to be a certain level of bad so they can secure one of the higher draft picks in this draft so that they can make a surefire hit and really just go up and ascend from there. But in that same vein, it's unfair to assume that he should just be written off. But in the same vein, you can't sit there and, if you're Danny Ainge in that front office, not potentially shop him, because the man is averaging over 16.5 points a game, shooting 48.5% from the field and 42, almost 43% from three-point range. And this is important because efficiency is everything in today's league. And him being able to shoot 3, 4, sometimes even 5 threes a game and hit them on a 40+% clip is going to be very enticing for some teams, not to mention the fact that he's not going to back down on defense. And while he doesn't have the greatest wingspan and he's not necessarily the tallest at the point guard or shooting guard positions, he is going to be a lucrative trade piece because he has the ability to make up for it with his overall intensity. And even after his surgery and some people thinking that he would end up losing a step, he added a level of a change of pace to his game on offense, which allowed him to be, number one, less turnover prone, but number two, survey the floor better and become a better passer as a result. And while he hasn't had the opportunity to showcase that as much this season because they've been focusing on Keontae George and even Isaiah Collier since he came back from injury, I believe that Collin Sexton would still be the ideal candidate to run the point guard position, if not for the Utah Jazz, for another team as well. And the team that has been the most talked about thus far, and it is early, it is rumors, so there is a certain level of speculation to come along with it, would be the Miami Heat. And the idea is that a trade presented with Terry Rozier and some draft compensation could, at the very least, make Danny Ainge pause before saying no. Now, if you're Danny Ainge, it comes down to how much do you appreciate what Collin Sexton brings to the team, and do you feel like you can get a similar level of production out of Terry Rozier, and do you think the young guy that you get out of this year's draft after this tankathon will end up making also up for what you had and boost you to that next level of stardom? Because if the difference is negligent at best, then it makes sense for you to go ahead and make the trade. But in that same vein, if you're the Miami Heat, Collin Sexton is really what you need, because seeing Terry Rozier alongside Tyler Hero just hasn't been able to work out well, because the efficiency and the dog that Terry Rozier once was just doesn't seem to be panning out very well alongside Tyler Hero. Nevertheless, he is still a good player, and he still can be efficient in spurts, and by all accounts, I would rather have him over a Jordan Clarkson per se at this current moment, from efficiency's sake specifically. I think that Collin Sexton's tenacity and his never back down, never settle mentality would fit in seamlessly with the way the Miami Heat like to play basketball alongside Eric Spoelstra. All those boys take things very seriously. They're very systematic. And while they don't have a culture that's regarded as highly as I suppose the Spurs are from a defensive identity standpoint, they are known to be a tough team to crack, because they stand about their wits. They're very confident in what they do. They execute their game plan, and they're very consistent in what they do. No matter how high of a Goliath of an opponent they face, they always find a way to, at the very least, make a game close, if not nail the other team in the coffin. Now, whether or not that trade will actually end up being passed across the table, or if it's just a rumor, or if Collin Sexton actually ends up having a sudden thought process where he is going to be extremely open in his shopping process, or with Danny Ainge, Justin Zanuck, and Will Hardy, seeing how they navigate those waters, particularly with him, less so with the atrocity, honestly, that has been Jordan Clarkson thus far this season. You could see a little bit of action, I believe, with John Collins, just because he's playing so far out of his mind thus far, but there doesn't seem to be a lot of motion for him, just because of how crazy the price tag is for his level of production. Nevertheless, though, it's been your boy Wraith Hoops. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I'm always interested to hear what you guys have to say. If you made it this far, I appreciate you. Go and smash that like button, subscribe, turn on post notifications, become a member, or drop a donation to help support the content. And as always, good morning, good evening, and good night, no matter where you're on the globe watching. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.